As soon as I walked out, I see graphic design everywhere.
Now in the street there is violence, and lots of work to be done. No place to hang out or washing, and I can't blame all on the sun. Oh no, we're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher. Oh, we're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher. Working so hard like a soldier.
Our streets, establishments, the things we have, and the things we own, they're all somehow there because of graphic design. It all somehow makes you wonder, who are the rebel people behind all this? How did this came about? Graphic design has continuously changed and been reinvented over the years. Today, let's take an insightful exploration into the evolution of graphic design as we unravel its transformative years from 1968 to 1992.
Yeah, on my own. On my own. So I'm
Wolfgang Wingard, an internationally known graphic designer and typographer, whose work is categorized as Swiss typography. He is credited as the father of new wave of Swiss typography.
Sir, how would you describe your works as an artist?
My work is like a quarry. People see stones, they appropriate it and work it until there's nothing left. In my opinion, designers don't even think or develop anything for themselves anymore. They just process fragments.
And what is your approach in creating your projects?
The more easier the assignment is, the more difficult the solution. I mean, what's the point of being legible when there's nothing to inspire you to take notice of it, right?
A retrospective exhibition of Wingard's work, which was called Wingard Typography, was displayed at the Museum of Design in Zurich, Switzerland in 2014. This was the first exhibition of his personal works through his teaching activity, showing his experimental design approach and the connection between analog and digital techniques. Meanwhile, on the other part of the world, there's Staff Gijs Bueller, one of America's most celebrated designers. He is known for integrating brand and corporate identity programs. His work includes posters, brochures, books, and illustrations. He has also designed architectural graphics and sign systems for various institutions, environmental graphics, and exhibitions.
What do you think is your best piece of work and why?
The poster and branding I did for Alvin Ailey is one of my favorites because it conveys the choreographer, the dance company, spirit of dance, and it was done with a brush. I have the best ideas in the middle of the night, although in the morning, they are usually not so much. Besides, my wife has great ideas. Winning ideas always win.
Staff Gijs Bueller later started an independent design consultancy. Since 2015, he's been working from home and teaching at Savannah College of Arts and Design.
I'm gonna need those props. I done came this far. I'm about to get rich, it's about to get sick.
American engineer and inventor Douglas Engelbart is well known for his revolutionary contributions to the field of human-computer interaction. Engelbart is widely credited for creating the first computer mouse, a great feat in the process of creating contemporary computing interfaces and design.
Sir, where did the idea of creating a computer mouse begin?
We started by building an instrument that we can sit at and work during our day to organize the kind of working information we need as a task for developing systems. I do not know why we called it a mouse. Sometimes I do sincerely apologize. It started that way and we never did change it.
And what do you think is the biggest challenge of designers and artists today?
biggest challenges. I think these days the problem isn't how to innovate. It is how to get the society to adopt the good ideas that already exist.
Engelbart envisioned a future where computers would unite individuals in a real-time network, facilitating the seamless sharing and updating of information, knowing that we live in a world where technology and ideas only keep advancing. Moving on to the year when it was said to be the best year to try new things with graphic design and test different styles, the 1970s. Graphic design in the 1970s was quite experimental, making it more fun and exaggerated. The standard during the 1970s was all about bright and crashing colors, large letters, and 3D styles. The typography in this decade was developed due to the availability of typesetting technology, and this technology made revolutionary typography possible. Additionally, typography and photography were combined to produce eye-catching visuals in this decade. Furthermore, in this era, there was also an emergence on corporate graphics. Moving forward in 1979, a new wave in graphic design was introduced, and the one who introduced this was April Grayman. April Grayman is an influential contemporary American graphic designer. She is considered one of the first designers to see computer in a different light or realize its potential as a design tool. During 1970s, when other designers were afraid of digitalization and the advancement in computer technology, Grayman embraced the idea.
So my work, I was trained really traditionally in Basel, Switzerland, where I also trained photography. I have these things which are more kind of classic graphic design background, but then these tools really freed me up to think about if you have a good idea, then there aren't any boundaries. You know, you can express in a variety of ways.
Grayman calls herself a transmedia artist, with a view of that the title graphic designer is too limiting to describe herself.
I was bringing video and computer into graphic design and meeting a lot of resistance. So I thought you really can't call it graphic design. People say, oh, April Grayman, yeah, sure, she's a graphic designer. But actually, I haven't called myself a graphic designer since 1984 when I got the Macintosh computer.
As mentioned in 1984, the first ever Macintosh computer with bitmap graphics was released by Apple. The Macintosh or Mac is a series of several lines of personal computers manufactured by Apple Incorporation. The first Macintosh computer was introduced on January 24, 1984 by Steve Jobs, but originally, Macintosh was the idea of an Apple employee, Jeff Raskin, in the 1970s. He wanted an easy-to-use, affordable personal computer for the average person, and he named it after his favorite, Apple.
The design of the Macintosh computer caught my attention. The moment I realized that it was more profitable than Elisa, I began focusing on the project.
Since the Macintosh computer was the first commercially successful personal computer, despite its unpopular features, how was it like back then when you created the Macintosh computer?
There were a lot of issues. We sold a lot, but I felt like it wasn't enough. And when I paid a visit to Xerox, that's where everything changed. There, I saw a screen with windows that has a program running and another window that has another program running. The visual appearance was so drastic. Then, at that moment, what came into my mind was that I knew that once I had this machine, I'd want it forever. That's when I got the idea of a graphical user interface from Xerox. And I created a team in incorporating the Macintosh.
Now, we can see how far the computer quality has become. As the technology continues to improve, artists have more opportunities to create artworks through different tools and video. In 1984, Paul Brainerd founded the Aldo software company with its Page Marker software program, which was introduced in July 1985, providing the killer application that helped make Apple Macintosh and the Laser Writer successful. He is also known for coining the term desktop publishing.
What inspired you to be the person you are now?
My entrepreneurial spirit is much connected to the experience of my family running a small business. They inspired me and gave me the confidence to do what I did in my later life.
Paul Brainerd first started his career in the newspaper business as an assistant to the operation director in Minneapolis Star and Tribune. Soon moved from newspaper career to nascent tech sector career in ATEX as a vice president of maintenance and customer service. He worked in Boston, then for a West Coast division.
A year or so later, they sold ATEX to Eastman Kodak and shut down the West Coast division. What were your plans after that?
Before it was shut down, I had a chance to work with engineers developing a graphic interface for newspaper layout. I took that opportunity to do something new with all the things I learned from work.
And thus, Paul Brainerd started Aldous from scratch with no use of any technologies, unemployed but with a small nest egg funded by ATEX. Brainerd launched his own tech company, hiring 4 of his laid-off colleagues, and developed the first desktop publishing, PageMaker, a full-featured desktop publishing program for Windows and Mac from Adobe. PageMaker was the de facto standard in the graphics arts industry for many years for creating advertisement, brochures, newsletters, and books of all sizes and kinds.
Greetings, girl, and welcome to my world of phrasing right up to bat. It's the daisy age and you're about to walk top stage.
On February of 1990, a software product called Photoshop 1.0 with the brand name Adobe Photoshop arrived on store shelves. It was created by Thomas Knoll and his co-creator and brother, John Knoll, offering entirely new ways for professional photographers and designers to modify and create digital images. At the time, its creators could never have imagined just how influential Photoshop would become.
After you developed Photoshop 1.0 and pitched it to different companies, you received rejections from a number of them. Why were companies not seeing the potential?
Quite a few said they were working on similar projects and didn't want to look at it for competitive reasons. Others said it didn't fit lineup.
When we did the demo at the Adobe though, it really clicked with them. They understood its potential and it fit in very well with Adobe's existing product line.
Photoshop was created in 1988 by the two brothers Thomas and John Knoll. The software was originally developed in 1987 under the same Image Pro by the Knoll brothers, then was sold to Adobe Systems Incorporation in 1988. The program started as a simple solution for displaying grayscale images on monochrome displays. After working with the program a little more, Thomas was able to create a number of processes that applied various effects to images on the screen.
When I was in graduate school, I was focusing on something called computer vision, which is the process of teaching computers how to understand images. A computer can be programmed to look at an image and conclude, "Oh, that's a lamp up there." But the first step in many computers' vision algorithms is tracing edges through image processing. As part of my PhD research, I had a good time writing a number of utilities programs that could do image processing on my computer.
While Thomas was studying at university, John Knoll was working on the special effects at George Lucas Industrial Light and Magic. When he saw what Thomas had created on his father's computer, he told Thomas that he should turn his program into a fully fledged image editor.
I had a job at Industrial Light and Magic doing analog image composition, but ILM had also begun doing some preliminary experiments in digital processing. They had a scanner that could scan in frames from a movie, digitally process them, and write the images out to film again.
I had a revelation that time. If we convert the movie footage into numbers and we can convert the numbers back into movie footage, then once it's into numerical form, you can do anything to it. We have complete power, and with digital, you can change every pixel into anything you want, and you can perform any operation with the film footage that you can imagine.
John and Thomas actually began to work together on the application. By utilizing Thomas' programming expertise and John's design experience, the two brothers improved on the initial application in 1988, released a piece of software called Image Pro. A few months later, the two brothers managed to win over Adobe executives and formed a partnership that would see them release Image Pro under the Adobe brand name. And it's here that we witness the beginning of the biggest change that would leave an impact on a global scale, the birth of the World Wide Web. What was your inspiration for coming up with such a massive system such as the web?
I was an intern working for CERN and had only graduated from Oxford a few years ago. It was exciting to be working there because there was a lot of information that was going around all the time. But of course, even that had its own set of problems.
Such as?
Well, dealing with information at such high volume in an ever-changing environment made it difficult for computers to properly communicate with each other due to incompatibility issues. I wanted to make a way to bridge that gap. Not only that, I wanted it to become available for those outside of CERN as well.
Did you ever anticipate how it would be used once it was made publicly available?
Yes and no. We'd anticipated with that such powerful technology, there was bound to be someone out there who'd be the bad in a sea of good. We hoped that the web would remain a sort of neutral ground, if you will. By making people more and more connected with one another, we thought this opportunity to experience different cultures would allow people to be a bit more sympathetic with one another.
And its growth?
I suppose it was something to be expected. You have all these brilliant minds poking and prodding ideas and asking all sorts of questions. Even when they think they finally found an answer, new questions begin to pop up, and the cycle repeats itself.
Graphic design has evolved and adapted many times over the course of several centuries. Our ability to capture and convey our ideas, thoughts, and emotions through various media pave new ways for us to communicate this with one another. Our journey to recounting the origins of graphic design may be over, but the real adventure is yet to come. The future still holds many ideas and stories that have yet to be told.